Ilia Topuria's running away to lightweight, mate. He's too small. How we doing, everybody? That was a really, really bad impression of the one and only Paddy Pimblett talking about the featherweight champion, the former featherweight champion, Ilia Topuria. According to Paddy Pimblett, he's running off scared to the lightweight division.
I think he ran from 145, to be honest.
Because he's scared of a rematch with Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, Movsar Evloev, running from these guys and moving up to the lightweight division where all the toughest guys in the world are. Look, listen, we're going to get into all of that in just a minute. We're going to talk about Ilia Topuria, who he's going to fight next. Going to talk a little bit about UFC 314 as well. What a fight card that is. That's the next pay-per-view. And the last pay-per-view, 313, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. The rematch is already being negotiated. So Alex Pereira, Magomed Ankalaev 2 will be going down, but the question is, will it be any different? Well, that remains to be seen. But first of all, here is what Paddy Pimblett had to say about Ilia Topuria, one of the very best fighters on the planet, and of course, a potential next opponent for Islam Makhachev. Paddy says he's tiny. He's like 5'5", 5'6". I don't understand. He has the audacity to call me fat when he's saying that he can't make 145 anymore, and he's a midget. It just doesn't make sense. Now look, Paddy's talking shit, and it's a great thing to do. Of course, have a rivalry with Ilia Topuria. He's one of the biggest stars in the sport right now. His absolute rise to stardom in the featherweight division was phenomenal, right? So for Paddy Pimblett, who's got a really tough fight against Michael Chandler coming up soon, we'll talk about that in a bit. For Paddy Pimblett, this is great. He called him the water bottle boy. They were having a little bit of beef, talking shit way back at UFC London. When he took on Jai Herbert, got dropped against Jai Herbert and then scored an absolutely phenomenal knockout. It really was. So for Paddy, it's great. Make the noise, talk the shit, poke the bear, do whatever you want, but you just got to back it up. So anyway, he says that Ilia is running away. He said, I think he ran from 145, to be honest.
Because he knew Volk not coming off a knockout loss 12 weeks earlier would give him a much tougher fight than his first fight with him. And then he also had Evloev and Lopez to fight. I would have had a lot more respect for Ilia if he would have defended that belt 2 more times. And then I think he would have been able to keep his belt and not have to vacate it and move up and fight Islam or whoever has the belt at the time. But I don't think he deserves a straight title shot, and I don't think the UFC do either. I think he's going to have to fight someone in the top 3 or something.
And you know what? Paddy's got kind of a point there, okay? He did get knocked out against Islam. He did come back too soon against Ilia Topuria, a man that's got absolute dynamite in his hands. But to say that he's running scared after he's already beaten him and he's the only person to knock out Max Holloway, it's bullshit, but I like it. So fair play to him. But the real question is, because he has moved up, Ilia said on Saturday that he's got a big announcement to make soon and it's going to blow everybody's mind. Something like that. Dana White was asked about it at the 313 post-fight press conference. They said he's got a big announcement. Is it fight-related? And he was like,
I don't know. That I don't know. Probably.
He's a UFC fighter who was the featherweight champion of the world that's just moved up to featherweight, and we all want to know who the opponent is. So yeah, whoever that journalist was, my God, the powers of deduction that he had was unbelievable. Yes, it's going to be a fucking fight announcement, okay? But the real question, who is the opponent going to be? Because we know he wants to go up straight away and fight Islam. Islam hasn't been too keen on that idea because he's given other guys a chance before. He wants to become a 2-weight division champion. And then, of course, there's the number 2 ranked Charles do Bronx Oliveira, the man with the most finishes, the most bonuses, the most submissions, the most exciting fighter in all the bloody division, right? Sign me up, take my money. We'd all want to see that fight. And there's also Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje just had an incredible win at the weekend. He just proved to everybody why he's must-see TV. And Justin Gaethje is phenomenal. Yes, you could argue that Justin Gaethje didn't necessarily help his title fight quest by beating Rafael Fiziev, a man that he's already beaten. But he proved to the world that he's must-see TV, that every single time Justin Gaethje fights, you've got to see it. He is that guy. He is that person. He is always action. And him versus Ilia, holy shit, again, that's a fight we'd all want to see. So realistically, there's a ton of options for Ilia Topuria. But the reality is, Islam Makhachev has got to fight somebody soon. And so does Ilia Topuria. Justin Gaethje wants to fight for the belt, but Justin Gaethje really doesn't give a shit right now. I think Justin Gage is happy making the phenomenal amount of money that he is and just going out there and being able to be himself. Walking into an octagon, living his own life, having no boss, no wife, no children, just training and fighting and living life to the absolute fullest. So realistically, any of those guys that I just mentioned, Islam, Arman, Charles, Justin, any single one of them, and it might be one of them, but it's probably going to be, if you ask me to bet, I think Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, because any of those guys, Arman, Charles, Justin, sure, they'd all be phenomenal fights and they'd all have a realistic chance of potentially beating Ilia Topuria. Granted, Ilia is special. I'm not saying that he's not. But if he lost to them, there's a massive market opportunity lost there because Ilia versus Islam, Ilia with the rise, Ilia still being in a lot of people's minds, the featherweight champion against the lightweight champion, there's something there. And yeah, if he loses to Gage, but then 2-3 fights later gets a shot, it's not quite the same sell. The public wouldn't be quite as still invested. So I think they're going to give him the title fight. I think Islam's going to take it. The type of fighter that Islam Makhachev is, yes, okay, granted, he wants a shot at becoming a two-weight champion, but he's going to have to wait for a while because of Bilal. So in the meantime, you take out Ilia Topuria, which would be an absolutely blockbuster fight. So anyway, we started off talking about Alexander Volkanovski. He's fighting for the featherweight strap that we've just been talking about there against Diego Lopez. UFC 314 going down in Miami. Remember last year, UFC 299 in Miami. What a fight card that was. And this time, once again, they've got an absolute banger. Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva. Yair Rodriguez is back taking on Patricio Pitbull. Jeff Neal versus Carlos Pratis. Holy shit, right? Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. That's a really interesting fight because yes, Volkanovski's getting a little bit older, but we can't forget about the performances that he's had. Remember, Holloway just knocked out Justin Gage. Remember, Volkanovski beat Max Holloway 3 times and had that ridiculous run, taking out all the contenders, right? Do not let recency bias fool you. Yes, of course, in fight sports, you're only as good as your last fight. And the last few fights for Volkanovski haven't gone his way. But he's still that guy. He's still got that dog in him. And I tell you what, he's going to need it going up against Diego Lopez. And the best of luck to both men. Co-main event, Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's always talking a lot of shit. This is really time to put up or shut up. I did a video on that a while ago. But it is for Michael Chandler. This is a really tough fight for Paddy Pimblett. He feels that he's going to win this one. He's going to be ranked number 7. And then everyone is going to discredit his performance. They're going to say, well, Michael Chandler was old. Michael Chandler's had a lot of time off on the sidelines waiting for Conor McGregor. Michael Chandler's short. Michael Chandler's past it, right? If he beats Michael Chandler, nobody can talk any shit. He's probably saying that because his last win was over Bobby Green. And of course, with Bobby Green, who has lost 3 out of his last 4, been finished in the first round, that's a kind of easy assumption or an opinion to come to. And it's kind of warranted in some ways. I mean, he just got knocked out cold with that beautiful spinning wheel kick. He got choked out by Paddy Pimblett and he almost got murdered of Jalen Turner. So it's kind of, I understand why Paddy's been a little bit defensive over that win. But if he beats Michael Chandler, then holy shit, he's fighting for a belt sometime soon. With the popularity that he has and with the wins that he's having and the slow and steady rise. Look, listen, in the boxing world, people take their time. Paddy Pimblett's definitely had the slow roll, okay? Fair play. He's passing the test every single time. And he knows that this is a tough fight against Michael Chandler. Chandler's going to come out and he's going to be swinging. He hits harder. He's probably physically stronger. He's clearly a better wrestler. He might even be a better all-round athlete. But Paddy hasn't got here by accident. So that's a very, very intriguing fight. And of course, Bryce Mitchell going up against Jean Silva. Jean Silva, this guy's unbelievable. Remember, UFC Seattle knocked out Melsing Bagdasaryan. Bagdasaryan's a really good kickboxer. Knocked him out cold. And he kind of made it look easy because he was messing around in there. Drew Dober, really tough. He had to be stopped by the doctors, sliced him open with spinning elbows. Charles Jourdain knocked him out, the first person to ever do so. Weston Wilson knocked him out as well. 4 fights in the UFC, 4 knockouts, all of them super entertaining. And this one's going to be incredible. Did you see them at the press conference? Now listen, Bryce Mitchell, we know he's got some very, very controversial opinions and we're not going to talk about that stuff here. We're going to keep it on the fight sports. But I will have a little laugh at the flat earth bullshit.
Because there is no proof that the earth rotates.
I'm sorry.
This is #1 bullshit.
The earth is not flat. It's as simple as that. Jean Silva comes out with the globe, gets the whole crowd to be chanting, fuck Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell. And you could see Bryce Mitchell sitting there, absolutely seething. If there was no one there, and he could get away with it, and he had a gun, he would have blown his brains out right then and there. I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube without getting demonetized. Demonetized, brother. That's the real problem around here, right? And talking about Bryce Mitchell might get you demonetized these days. However, this is an interesting fight. Jean Silva's wound him up to right? Bryce is pissed off. And Bryce is a very capable fighter. Don't be fooled by all this stuff with the flat earth and, yes, the bullshit that he spoke about recently, okay? Not even going to get into that. Look at what he did to Kron Gracie. Got him in the guard, slammed him down, elbow, knocked him out cold. Yes, he had 2 losses recently-ish. One of them to Josh Emmett, knocked out cold, took a year away from the sport. Before that, got a legitimate win over Dan Ige, and before that, got choked out by Ilia Topuria. Prior to that, the man was on an absolute roll. He was 15-0, undefeated. And Jean Silva, this guy's a striker. Yes, he's Brazilian. He's got a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but Bryce Mitchell is going to be looking for the takedown all day long. And then before that, of course, we've got the one and only Carlos Prates, who's knocking everyone out in the UFC. He's knocking everyone out in general. 21 wins, 16 knockouts, 3 submissions, 19 finishes. Only 2 fights have gone to a decision. 4-0 so far in the UFC, all in 2024. Knocked out Neil Magny, Li Jiangliang, Charles Radke, and Trevin Giles. And will he knock out Jeff Neal? I don't know about that one. Jeff Neal is as tough as they come. Anyway, there's my first little video on UFC 314. Ilia Topuria, I think he's going to fight Islam Makhachev. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett is an incredible matchup. And will Alexander Volkanovski, will he become the featherweight champ at 36 years old? These are all the questions that I'm asking you, and I want answers to all of them down there in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell. See you soon.